Hello, my math independent study student. In this video, our objective is factoring trinomial with leading coefficient that's not 1. So you can look at the first trinomial. The leading coefficient is 4. Why 4 is the leading coefficient? Because 4 is the number in front of the variable that have the highest degree. And look at the second trinomial again. The leading coefficient is 4 because 4 is the number in front of the variable x with the highest degree. So let's begin. We are going to use the box method. So first we need to draw a square, and then we divide our square into four little square, and we put the first term 4x squared into the top left corner, and then we put the last term, which is the constant negative 25, into the bottom right corner of the 2 by 2 box. Next, we're going to multiply these two terms, the first and the last term, so that will give us negative 100 x squared. Then we're going to factor. This term. So first, let's try with x squared first. X squared will factor that will give us a smaller degree bxx. Now negative 100. There are many possible factors of negative 100, but we restrict ourselves so that if we factor correctly, these two coefficients add them up have to be equal negative 15x, which is the middle term. So in order to get negative, so one of the coefficients have to be negative. So we want to get negative 15 for the sum. So we do negative 20 and positive 5. Now if we add them up, negative 20 plus 5, that will give us negative 15, and of course the light term, which is the x. So now I'm going to go ahead and put these two factors that we just found, negative 20 x and positive 5x. Next, you need to go ahead and with each row, you need to try to find the greatest common factor of each row. So let's look at the first row. So we have 4x squared and negative 20. So of course they both have x as a common factor, and for negative 20, so the common factor will be 4. So therefore the greatest common factor for row 1 will be 4x. Now let's look at the next one. We have row number 2, you have 5x and negative 25, so the greatest common factor will be 5. So now we're done with the row, so let's start with the column. So let's start with the first column. So we have 4x squared and 5x. So this term, they only have x as the greatest common factors. And look at the next column. We have negative 20x and negative 25. So of course they do have negative 1 as a common factor, and 20 and 5. So therefore they both have 5 as the greatest common factors. So now we're done. So therefore we can conclude that our factor will be the product of the sum of the row and the sum of the column. So the row will be 4x plus 5, and the column will be x plus negative 5. Now if you have a plus and a minus sign, you can go ahead and simplify this. So therefore the second binomial will be just x minus 5. Now you can check your answer very fast and quick. You can go ahead and multiply and make sure that you see the answer inside the box. So 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times negative 5 is negative 20x. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. So therefore this is the correct factor. So let's move on to the next example. So again, we'll go ahead and get a square, Now inside the square, we go ahead and divide into 4. And we'll put the leading terms 4x squared on the top left corners, and the last term, which is the 4, in the bottom right corner of the 2 by 2 box. Then we go ahead and multiply, so that will give us 16x squared. So we'll go ahead and find the factor. Let's start with the x squared first, so that will give us x times x is x squared. Now the 16, I'll go with that. We want to end up the sum of the two factors have to give us negative 17x. So in order to get a negative number, then each one of the coefficients have to be negative. So we will do negative 16 and negative 1. So if we multiply two negative, the product is a positive, but if we add these two negative numbers, the sum is still a negative. It's much smaller. So now we go ahead and put these two numbers here, negative 16x, negative 1x, or you can ignore the 1. So again, we need to try to find the factor of each row first. So we have 2 rows. And let's start with the row. So the first row we have 4x squared and negative 16. So they both have x as the common factor. 4 and negative 16. So again, 4 will be the common factor. So the greatest common factor for row 1 will be 4x. Now for row number 2, there's nothing in common. But since there's nothing in common, you don't put a 0. You put 1. So now let's move on to the next one. We'll look at the column. So for my column number 1, so now we will have 4x squared and negative x, so they only have x at the common factors. And look at the next one, we have negative 16 and 4, so the common factor be 4. So now we can check our answer. 4x times x is 4x squared. 4. Now, since we look at here, if we do 4x times 4, it will give us 16x, not negative 16x. So I'm going to go ahead and put in negative. So 4x times negative 4, so it will give us negative 16x. So again, 1 times x is x. So therefore, I want to get negative x. So I'm going to go ahead and put in negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 4, that will give us 4. So therefore, we can conclude that our factors are x. Let me start with the row first. So 4x plus negative 1 times the sum of the column, which is x plus negative 4. Now if you have a plus and a minus side, 2 together, you can simplify that. So be 4x minus 1 times x minus 4. So this will be a check. So this will be the conclusion for this video. Make sure you write out these summaries. I will see you in class. Goodbye.